This is HMS Illustrious, £1 billion worth of war machine. Lusty's home to nearly 1,000 sailors and is heading an international task force halfway round the world on a mission to flex their military muscles. The deployment's about to enter the sun-soaked Middle East, but danger is just around the corner.
If someone's shooting at you and you can see muzzle flashes, you can shoot back.
Lusty's leaving Malta and 3 days shore leave behind. And while the captain calls the shots from the bridge, the buffer coordinates the operation on the lower decks. But how do you get a 20,000-ton aircraft carrier through such a narrow port? It's easy. Just give it a little tug.
We have to be very careful with foreign tugs. Although these are very, very experienced tug drivers, you just have to pay that little bit more attention to them. Because if we start to pull them, rather than pulling us, it could be quite catastrophic for the tug. It's nice to see so many people turned out. Looking up at the castle buildings, there seems to be hundreds of people there just to wave us off, which is fantastic. What a brilliant run ashore we've had.
These stopovers are a perk of the job for a crew that often spends months at sea.
Why did I join the Navy? The age-old question.
You get to travel the world, you're getting paid for it. Good weather.
Being on a ship, you do travel around to a lot of places, get to see a lot of foreign ports.
But life on board a warship's no holiday, especially for the new recruits. Every day for the last 5 weeks has been an eye-opening experience for people like 27-year-old ex-roofer Darren Marshall.
You've got a massive 20,000-ton ship, and I'm steering it. So the first time I was doing it, I was quite nervous. It's a lot different from being a roofer.
And down in the ops room, fellow newbie Steve Dean's also learning fast.
It was a bit daunting at first when I got on, and getting used to how everything run and what procedures are in place and everything. The bad point about being on a ship is being away from your family and friends. But if you can get a grip on that, you're all right.
It's a massive learning curve. Straight away, they were thrown in at the deep end and they probably would have thought, what the hell's going on? And they were a bit shell-shocked.
A few of us being seasick, but
Especially you.
yeah, especially me. But getting used to it now.
Darren and Dino are part of 5 Delta Mess down on 5 deck. It's one of 33 messes on board, each home to up to 25 crew, sharing a bedroom, bathroom and living room.
Yeah, just give it a fresh warm up down there.
Each mess is given a sea daddy to look after its new boys. So, how did Mo Morrison land this job?
Wrong place, wrong time. Any leading hand of a mess, they'll tell you that's probably the worst job, because not only have you got your job throughout the day, you've got to look after them as well.
And as any daddy will tell you, just keeping the house clean is a constant battle.
Got to make sure the mess is tidy, basically, ready for rounds, because it's me that gets it in the neck if it isn't tidy or clean. This is a good example of seat cover changing. Well, not that good example.
With 25 sweaty sailors sitting on them, it's a necessary fortnightly chore, but not what 18-year-old Taff Edwards had in mind when he joined the Navy.
This is what it's all about, see.
All the soap scum on the sinks and taps have been scrubbed off. You know, like all the toothpaste and soap scum. All the pubes are out of the scuppers down there. That's usually a good pube haven down there. And the ginger ones are Taffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, done a good job, mate. Yeah, some of them, I'll be sad to see them go, you know. They're good lads. And, you know, you can tell good lads, they just get on with it without any problem whatsoever. And, you know, some of them, you know, see you later, not bothered.
Illustrious and her crew are travelling through the Mediterranean. But in 4 days' time, they'll have to navigate the narrow 101-mile Suez Canal, and the ship's company will have to be ready for any potential terrorist attack.
Readiness increases. We become much more focused and continue training so that when we hit the canal, we're fully ready and prepared to do what we may need to do.
But Captain Chick has got a more immediate problem.
It's one of your lads, isn't he?
One of the crew has gone missing.
Last seen last night.
Worst case scenario, they might have gone over the side at some point in the night. So what we then do is invoke Operation Thimble Hunt.
This is an exercise we go through if someone can't be found on board and we think they might be missing.
All depots, all deck codes, water answer room in 2 minutes' time.
For a man overboard in these waters, the chance of survival is slim, so the ship immediately swings into action.
Their messes, they're mustered by mess, and that way we check that everyone's available.
Logs department fully closed up, all present.
Ollie, Junior WHMS, all mustered and correct.
Executive Warrant Officer Russell Billings is the linchpin of this operation, receiving and broadcasting details of the search.
You hear there, this is the EWO. All personnel, with the exception of AB Southworth, have been accounted for. Therefore, commence phase 2, commence phase 2. Each department has an area of the ship they've got to search. All the little areas, cubby holes throughout the ship.
Do we know when the last time he was sighted?
1930, last night, sir. Now, they've reported that their areas have been cleaned, but no one's actually visually sighted them doing that. On a ship this size, phase 2 could take up to 2 or 3, maybe 4 hours. And then we're running out of options, really.
As the ship prepares to turn around, the crew make a last, desperate search for able seaman Southworth.
Ewo. You found him? Where was he? Right, can you get him to the reg office? Escort him to the reg office, please. Thank you. Found.
Where?
In the senior, behind one of the senior 8's bulkheads with his head down.
Really?
Here, this is Ewo. Operation Thimble Hunt is now complete.
Why he was where he was, we can deal with that. But the main thing is well and safe. That's good.
Investigating the circumstances of Southworth's siesta will be Master-at-Arms Dave Harris.
Given we just had a couple of nights in Malta, there's a few tired people about, so it's not entirely unexpected. It's unfortunate if that's the case. Caused, as you've seen, from the captain down, 45 minutes worth of inconvenience to everybody on board. We take a pretty dim view of that. If there's no reason for it, yeah, it'll be subjected to the disciplinary process, which is where I'll step in. Come on in. Excuse me.
Sleepy Southworth may be in for a rude awakening. Life on Lusty has a daily routine like any other. And for steward Rachel Wright, the first job every morning's collecting the officers' dirty washing.
It's just part of our job. They bag it all up and shit it for us and then leave it out and we pick it up and take it for them. It's just one less thing for them to do, I suppose.
Lusty's got her own Chinese laundry, handling up to 400 loads a day.
The laundry's run by Jackie and 3 other guys. They're really nice. They just basically spend all their day washing our clothes and pressing them dead quick for us.
Keeping 1,000 crew in clean clothes and bedding is a never-ending task. The machines go on at 7 every day and run till 9 at night. But for Jackie Lau, it's a labour of love.
I enjoy, yeah, I really enjoy. Yeah, I'm working over 10 years.
They spend even more time away from their families than the rest of the ship's company do.
Sometimes we go home 2 times 1 year. Christmas, sometimes summer leave, so 2 times, yeah.
Jackie's elite squad of fearless laundrymen need to wash, dry, press and dispatch every item on a 24-hour turnaround.
This is 30 laundry. This is 1 bundle. Today we finish about 300 about.
To keep tabs on this mountain of clothes is a military operation in itself. So, Jackie needs good men at the front line. And who better than ex-Gurkha, Dob?
I joined Gurkhas in 1982 and served 15 years and retired in 1997 and got this job. In army, actually we have a good discipline, obviously. In laundry as well, we have 4 or 5 people working here. In military way, short cotton, yes, it's clean. 1 towel, yes, and another black trouser, yes, and 2 number 4 trouser, yes, correct. We work in the morning, like 6:30, and when busy, we cannot think about anything. Just work, finish work. Laundry number as well, correct. So I put here and roll it over like this. I'm proud of this my job and working sub with the Navy. Tidy up, looking nice, so you will be happy about it with the clean laundry.
As the main deck's a runway, most of the crew rarely see daylight. So today, Sea Daddy Mo's got a treat for a handful of raw recruits.
We're doing a course because we've got to go through the Suez, and we have to protect ourselves, so all the upper weapons crews have to be manned. At the moment we haven't got enough, you see, so we've got to get a load of people qualified.
For the Opterum newbie Dino, it's all come as a bit of a surprise.
To be honest with you, I didn't realise I'd be training on weapons. I just thought I'd be in the Opterum most of the time, but apparently it's all part and parcel of it.
We're just doing the training on the minigun. It's force protection weapons for small, fast craft, basically jet skis, like arms with RPGs.
These rookies have never had their hands on live ammunition before.
So when you hear it over your head, don't crack yourself, right?
So the flare goes up as a practice target.
It's an experience because it is quite scary when you first pull the trigger, but once you get into it, it's good fun.
Having power in your hands is quite good, you know.
Check, check, check!
Gives the lads a break from the normality of everyday life in the Navy, where it is just clean and making sure everywhere is squared away correctly. So it's the first time they've actually fired the GPMG and the minigun. They've actually done pretty well.
But will they hold their nerve when in 2 days' time Lusty hits the Suez Canal and they have to man their guns for real? The crew's still breathing a sigh of relief after the earlier man overboard scare, but all that's about to change.
So we'll just pick Fred up, throw him over the side and watch for the ship's reactions.
It doesn't sound like much fun for Fred, but don't worry, he's done this before.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Man overboard, man overboard, man overboard, man overboard, starboard side. When there's a cold sea, you only get a couple of minutes due to hypothermia. And anything below sort of 16-degree temperatures, every second counts, basically.
Halfway bridge, C7 temperature, 15 degrees.
Start your engine.
Start your engine.
Okay, sit down there.
It's a nervous moment for the rookie coxswain.
Stop halfway bridge, you have a green for the bridge, carry on the starboard sea.
Roger, off steady lines.
Down.
By then, lower. Visual.
He may be a bit apprehensive, yeah, but with the leading hand sat on his shoulder, it'll prompt him if he does forget anything during the drills.
Come to the boat, lower.
We've all got to start somewhere, haven't we?
As they hit the water, the seaboat's engine is already turning.
Okay, bounce it in. Okay, just well done.
5 minutes after Fred fell overboard, the team's on their way to rescue him.
He'll make his approach onto the man overboard, doing that in a safe manner, obviously trying not to run the man overboard over at the same time. I'm just watching his drills at the moment to make sure he's doing it safely. As soon as he's got the man inboard, we'll make all preparations to recover the man and the boat as quickly as possible. At the moment, they're just bringing the casualty into the boat. They'll administer first aid. They'll find out what the initial symptoms of the casualty are, whether he's suffering from cold shock, whether he has any physical injuries.
Casualty is unconscious and breathing.
What we have here is a boat will initially go onto a boat rope, which is down on the bow of the boat, and this holds the boat into position underneath the crane. First aider is not even holding on. Hold on! Coxswain, cut your engine. Done it. Steady. Up on that line, it's the only steadying line there is.
14 minutes after he fell into the sea, and Fred's back on board, safe and sound.
Well done. Straight into the hangar, please.
And for the new coxswain, it's a job well done.
It's flat calm. You wait till you do it in rough weather.
This is 814 Squadron, the Flying Tigers.
Flying, I guess, is inherently dangerous. Everyone's life in that aircraft is in your hands.
It is glamorous and a good fun job, but the reality is it does hold its dangerous moments as well.
As the ship's first line of defence, the Tigers need to be ready for anything. And it's no easy job. Just ask one of their pilots, Stacks, who's still hitting the books.
Cramming in as much extra revision as I can now, in and around the flying, so we've got quite a busy flying programme on at the minute. When we get this qualification, it means that we can actually be the commander of the aircraft and in charge. It's quite a lot of stuff to take in, quite a lot of stuff to remember.
Illustrious is home to 6 Merlin helicopters, the biggest in the Royal Navy's arsenal.
It's just over 22 metres long and it weighs nearly 15 tonnes.
The Royal Navy Merlin is designed for anti-submarine warfare with state-of-the-art radar and sonar systems, and able to carry either 4 homing torpedoes or depth charges. It's also equipped for surface combat with a general purpose machine gun or GPMG.
We can operate out to around about 200 miles on a single sortie without refuelling. However, if we do need to extend that range, we can refuel alongside a majority of ships, and that's just done by hovering alongside the ship and winching up the fuel hose to the side of the aircraft and taking fuel from there.
But keeping this complex piece of kit in the air takes teamwork.
The Merlin's designed to be flown by a 3-man crew. 1 pilot who'll fly the aircraft, 1 air crewman who'll take care of all the winching, man the GPMG, and also 1 observer who'll take care of the navigation and the tactical side of the sortie.
And back on board, there's an army of engineers working around the clock to make sure the Merlin's ready to fly at a moment's notice.
We work the routine required for the flying hours, but the engineers generally do an 8-hour about day, so it's quite a tough routine for them.
Pilot Jack Ryan's one of the more experienced members of the 814 Squadron.
I have operated the Merlin in operations from both ships and land base, whether that be chasing drag traffickers in the Caribbean or whether it's engaging pirates off the Somali coast. There's countless different opportunities where it could be used.
Today, Jack and his crew are being sent on a reconnaissance mission to make sure Illustrious has safe passage in the waters ahead.
We're trying to build up a picture ahead of the task group so we can identify whether they're merchant vessels, contacts of interest or military vessels.
And it isn't long before they spot a possible candidate.
Can we slow down a little bit for this one? Yeah, not too much, mate, because we've got quite a bit of a way to go back into wind. I'll just slow down to 100 knots. Okay, all 4 of those large cranes, they are all 4 cranes on the superstructure, just at different angles. It's not the one we're looking for, is it? No, it is a large crane carrier or something like that.
Dismissing the first ship as no possible threat, the crew head for the next target on their radar.
You ready with the captain, Lofty? Yeah, somebody's going to be on the dock. We're which way you going there, mate? I'm just going to literally cross over at stern, then come back so Lofty can get a couple of knots of it, and then I'll run down the right-hand side of it. Happy? Okay. Okay, Lofty. Ship's passing from my 12 o'clock. I'm coming up its wake. Okay, the ship is now in my 1 o'clock. 100 yards. Coming down the starboard side. Just good. I'm just going to try and get some on the back end of the ship. Get his name as well. Yeah. Can you take a photo of what they've got on the quarterdeck at the back?
As well as identifying the vessel, they've got to record anything suspicious so it can be analysed back on board Illustrious.
Oh, now we're just tracking the ship, keeping an eye on it using the radar while we return back to the tail of the vessel.
If you get a nice clear image that is then useful to the intelligence communities, then on the face of it, that is the successful exercise.
That's the one. Well, there's quite a few ships.
The lucky me!
Unlike the rest of Lusty's crew, the Tigers have only one job on board.
Because we try to have the ethos in the Fleet Air Arm of working hard and playing hard, then obviously we're quite often seen in the bar.
They all come on in their green overalls and fly around. We actually call them wafoos for wet and effing useless.
And another thing that sets them apart from the rest of the crew is their bizarre taste in soft furnishings.
We went to India, and whilst we were there, we got some tiger curtains made up which adorn our cabins.
In fact, one member of the squadron has taken the fetish for all things tiger a bit too far.
Tiger Man is our mascot, so he's very important to us as a squadron.
The legendary Tiger Man has been around as long as anyone can remember and can pop up anywhere at any time.
When I was on 814, Tiger Man was there. He seems to have got a new coat now, which is not a bad thing. He hasn't aged at all, which is remarkable.
Nobody knows who he is, nobody knows where he lives.
HMS Southworth.
It's Judgment Day for Sleepy Southworth.
Off the cap.
You have the right to elect to be tried by court-martial if you so desire. Alternatively, you can be tried summarily by me. Do you wish to elect for trial by court-martial?
No, sir.
I shall try this case myself. If I find you guilty, I may punish you myself or pass you on for punishment, depending on your record.
Southworth's disappearance sparked a full-scale man-overboard alert involving the entire ship's crew. He was caught kipping in a locker.
I was just sat in there like I fell asleep.
And do you plead guilty or not guilty to the charge?
Guilty, sir.
Master Arms is effectively the ship's policeman, so he presents the case as in the prosecution.
Jackson was searching in the vicinity of 6 Romeo Heads when he was called over by Petty Officer Drake, who said that he had found Southworth asleep in the cleaning gear locker, and he shook him. On being shook, he states that the accused said, quote, "Oh fuck, I'm late." He then saw Southworth climb out of the void space, and he stood there while it was explained to him that the entire ship was looking for him. According to Jackson, it was obvious from his demeanour that he had just woken up. Southworth was interviewed under caution on the 8th of March 2008 by myself. During the interview, he maintained that he wasn't missing during the forenoon at all, only that he had been working between the showers and the mess, and each time Jackson had gone to find him, according to him, he had been moving between the two, and that's why he couldn't be located. That is the facts of the case.
Gio, what have you got to say about this man?
Maybe Southworth has been on board approximately 1 year, during which he has established himself as a hard worker, particularly on pride of ship, and he completed his warfare task book ahead of schedule. He has told me that he is sorry for the disruption he caused, particularly during the thimble hunt, and also to others who are affected by these events. So he's now changed jobs back to forecastle and ops room, and where he'll be working in a watch gun, therefore his difficulty in waking up should no longer be an issue.
Rest assured it won't be.
The 1st of March, you caused this ship an awful lot of angst. I've seen the compartment. You could only have deliberately gone in there to get your head down, young man, and that's not good enough. A day worker, you should have plenty of sleep. We were that close to having to turn the ship round. Can you imagine the impact on this deployment? Because we care about you. Now you need to look in the mirror, young man, and decide what you care about. Get a bit of pride in this ship. Back. Is it there?
Yes, sir.
Well, start showing it. I don't want to see you again. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
7 days, 9s. I gave him 7 days, number 9s. So essentially the next port visit we've got, he won't be going ashore. And that might make him realise next time he should do his job properly.
On cap.
Sort your life out, young man.
Yes, sir. Left turn. Left wheel, quick march, wait outside my office. Get your tables up.
Yeah, thank you. Right, son. I'm sure he's a good guy. Yeah. All right, he just needs a little shake. Yeah. He's got one. All right. Thanks. Enjoy that?
Sir.
You don't know that side of it, do you?
No, sir, no.
Good answer. Thanks, Master.
Sir.
Thanks, leading right.
Commander Johnston may wield power over the crew, but there's one person on board who answers to a higher authority.
I'm Father David Yates. I'm the ship's chaplain.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Is that loud enough? I can't hear it at all. Mind you, we've got a helicopter burning and turning.
The chaplain, or the bish as he's better known, isn't just there for the religious members of the crew.
Yeah.
There's two distinct strands to my job. On the sort of the public side of things, I take church services.
We begin our service this morning with our first hymn, He Who Would Valiant Be.
And then on the more private and confidential side of things, I'm also available for anyone on the ship who's having problems to identify ways of solving, you know, the said problem.
The way that we do the Sunday morning with the service and the refreshments afterwards, it does make a nice bracket, a step change in the routine from the rest of the week. Gives those that wish to a chance to pause and think their thoughts.
Most of the time I thoroughly enjoy it, but every now and then something comes up and at the front of my mind I'm talking to the person, in the back of my mind I'm thinking to myself, gosh, what do I say to this one? The analogy I sometimes use is it's a bit like watching a swan. You know, it's gliding along the water quite confidently, but underneath its legs are paddling like mad.
Hello.
Navy chaplains don't have military rank, therefore we take the rank of the person we're talking to, which I always mean as, you know, I just treat everybody with respect and treat everyone as an equal.
How are you doing?
Fine, thanks.
Hello.
If I was finding it hard to upset, I'll actually go to chaplain. I'll go and speak to the bish, which I've done quite a few times so far.
We're a safety valve in the engine, if you like, because people can come and let off steam to us before it becomes a big problem.
But in the ship's chapel down on 7 deck, finding a quiet moment for reflection can be difficult.
If you happen to look behind me at the raised area behind me, it's where part of the drive shaft of the ship runs through. So the noise we're hearing is actually the shaft turning and the propellers moving on under the water. We have learnt to tune it out, but if the ship's going particularly fast, it does get very noisy down here.
I believe very strongly in the democratic freedom that we enjoy within our country.
How's it going?
Yep, not too bad.
Not too bad. That's what's happening.
And I also believe that if we value that freedom, we should be prepared to make a stand in defence of that freedom. Now, as a priest, I'm not allowed to take up arms, but it is my place and my role to help and support those that do.
It's been quite quiet.
Right.
Good.
Well, quiet's good.
Yeah.
No problems with that.
No.
When you guys get busy, the rest of us get worried.
Once I'm in the Navy, I can't then say, oh, well, I'll do the mess dinners, but I won't do the wars, thank you very much. It doesn't work like that. You know, the choice was to join. Once I've joined, I go where I'm sent. And, you know, I don't have any moral problem with that.
And it's lucky the bish takes that view, because Lust is heading into dangerous waters. For 5 weeks, the crew have trained and drilled, but now they're preparing to defend themselves for real, because in 10 hours' time, they hit the Suez Canal. Located in a volatile region, much of this 100-mile waterway is too narrow for Lusty to turn in, making her a sitting duck if she comes under attack. The fleet regroup, ready for the challenge ahead. Amongst their company is the USS Cole, a previous terrorist target. In October 2000, the Cole was attacked by Al-Qaeda suicide bombers who blew a hole in her hull, killing 17 of her crew.
Okay, guys, listen in. Dress forward.
Those on sentry duty are kitted out in desert camouflage and given a no-nonsense talk on the rules of engagement.
In all situations, you are to use no more force than absolutely necessary. Right, so if someone's blatting at you, right, on automatic, doesn't mean you switch to automatic. It means you engage with single shots. Remember, you've got to justify every single shot that you fire. If you kill someone, you will have to justify that in a court of law. If you've got it wrong, you will go to prison.
On the outer deck, it's Ned Turbitt's job to check and arm the mounted defences.
All the upper deck weapons, all the 4 miniguns, GPMGs and the forward goalkeeper are all going to be loaded, ready to go, just in case anybody decides to attack us. With all this amount of manpower and that on the upper deck of the weapons that we're going to have, nothing's going to get past us.
1 Delta Oscar, 4 Echo Power.
Relaying information between the ops room, bridge and the sentries will be crucial and is the job of Warfare Officer Phil Dennis.
There are terrorist organisations within Egypt itself. Sinking us in the canal would be a big hit for them. A lot of those organisations are Islamist as well, so they see us as part of a coalition with the Americans and the other nations in the Gulf, which is working in Iraq and Afghanistan. So they could see us as a target for those sort of reasons as well.
A challenge must be given before opening fire. You're to challenge by shouting, Navy, stop or I fire, in English. Right, they may not understand what you're saying, but the forcefulness of you saying it, right, will mean they'll probably get the general idea when you're pointing a rifle at them.
The rate this fires at, 3,000 rounds a minute, so you've got 60 seconds worth of firing in there. It doesn't sound a lot, but all you would really need is about 3 or 4 seconds worth, and that would be enough to take out any target.
Right.
Many of these young sailors will be standing sentry for the first time, including Dino and Taff from 5 Delta Mess, still under the watchful eye of Sea Daddy and gunner Mug.
You're looking out for small crafts, people on a jetty, RPGs, that type of thing. However, if you see anything that you think might be of that description, give someone a call first, right? If someone's shooting at you and you can see muzzle flashes coming towards you, you can shoot back. Okay, when you're out there, make sure you're vigilant, because the time you're not being vigilant is when the guy's going to come in on his craft and blow himself up on the side of the ship.
There's a lot of young lads on board. Probably it's going to be a big wake-up call for them.
It is exciting, looking forward to a good experience it'll be, to see what's going on out there and just hopefully not get shot at. This is what we signed up for, this is, we're ready for it, so see it as it comes.
Yeah, there, Commander speaking. Good evening, Illustrious. Just want to discuss the next 36 hours as we transit the Suez Canal. Lebanon remains quite tense, and what you've got to bear in mind, as we transit the Suez, there's a real threat out there. There won't be any exercise scenarios. If the alarm's sounded, it's for real, be it fire, flood, or even worse. If there's any incidents, deal with them quickly and efficiently, but above all, be safe. Let's get through the canal safely over the next 36 hours, into the Red Sea, and continue with the deployment. That is all.
6 GPMG aimers here, 4 minigun aimers here, and 2 riflemen. Rest. Please stand down that end. Yes, please. Rest rifles.
Lusty's entering the canal in the dead of night. As Taff and the other new recruits assemble on the deck, the gravity of their situation begins to dawn on them.
It seems a lot different, it seems more real now. It seems as if you're actually doing it now, yeah.
The main threat will probably be someone on the shore firing at us. Especially someone popping up and firing an RPG towards the ship would probably be the worst thing we could see.
Pilot transfer complete, pilot vessel cleared to starboard. Combat 198.
Yeah, steer 198.
Just going through the initial part of the Suez Canal transit, and each ship gets a local pilot on board who gives his advice. The pilots are extremely experienced, so we take their advice, but we retain control of the ship, obviously.
living the dream. This is real now, this isn't forced anymore, so they're a bit more wary of what's going on. There's a little bit of sense of anticipation, yeah. Ever since September the 11th, and the terrorist threat's gone up, it's always like this now. I remember the first time I went through here, no one was close up. We were sunbathing on the flight deck and playing flight deck volleyball on the way through. But not anymore, it's all hands to the pumps everywhere now.
I've only gone Roger.
Lusty's made it through the night, and though vigilance is still required, with sunrise and clear visibility, the threat against her is greatly reduced.
Half minigun bridge, expecting the pilot boat round the corner next 5-10 minutes time.
It's only now the new recruits can take in their unique surroundings.
Mental, innit? See that, sir, have you? Every red flag. Every red flag is a squaddy. He's been there all night. I think we get sent off. Look at him stood there.
The Egyptian government in Egypt, the country, owns a huge amount of foreign revenue from ships using the Suez Canal. I think annually it's about $2 billion. So it's a big input for their economy. So they're very keen, of course, that one, the canal stays open, and secondly, that there are no incidents for any ships going through.
But until they clear the canal, the sentries are still the only crew allowed up top. Below decks, cabin fever's taken hold, and the cooped-up crew are challenging Lusty to a race.
We're rowing the same distance as the Suez, which is, I don't know actually, 80 people doing 2,000 knee, work it out.
We've got to stay essentially indoors. We can't wander around the upper deck because of the security state. So it's just a way of motivating the guys, giving them a target. But as you can see, it's good fun, it's working.
Come on, man. Push it out, come on.
Well, I don't know how much more we've got to do, but I think the ship might be winning just at the moment.
My time was 7 minutes 18 seconds, unfortunately. It's turn beat 7:15, but hey, I'm getting old. I'm gonna go and die now.
The fleet have put danger behind them, clearing the Suez Canal and entering the Red Sea. And on Lusty's flight deck, those off duty are soaking up the sun, as others prepare to let off steam and party, military style.
Okay, come forward, take a step back, take a step back. Okay, where are my shock mats?
Fitness instructor Billy May has organised It's a Navy Knockout.
There's about 200 competitors and probably about another 400 people watching.
And after their fun, they'll want feeding. Below decks, that's the unenviable job of this man.
The wardroom's turn to put on a flight deck barbecue today. To that end, the wardroom, I've pushed out a number of jobs I need everybody in the wardroom to do to help set up. It's a big evolution, feed just under 800 people in 2 hours on the flight deck using a barbie. Yeah, big job.
Fortunately, Lieutenant Barfoot's used to having a lot on his plate.
I'm Senior Fighter Controller. I'm also the Battle Watch Director. I'm an officer of the Watch. I'm also a Divisional Officer. I'm the ship's Senior Boarding Officer. I am the Forecastle Part of Ship Officer. I'm the Electronic Chart Display Information Systems Officer. I'm the ship's Rugby Officer. I'm the ship's Band Officer. I'm also the Wardroom Social Secretary. And we always put it out to the wardroom votes. And I kind of won by a landslide, so I had to take that one on. Right, go aft to see how these barbecues are being set up, if they are at all. It's all right, it's all right. One of the concerns was that we had some of the flight deck damaged when the Spanish Harriers were on board last year, and they basically put 2 holes in the deck. At the moment, got a bit of time to spare, so I think I'm going to watch the flight deck crews and the rest of the ship's company in this It's a Knockout tournament.
Some kind of sadistic enjoyment out of this.
On the flight deck, the fun's in full flow. Although the improvised bobbing apples are leaving a sour taste in Sid Little's mouth.
Yeah, it's not the best apple dunking because it's not apples and masking tape doesn't taste quite so good.
Yeah, massively organised chaos, but fun. Have you ever seen them smiling so much since we left from the UK wars?
I haven't got a clue what's going on, I've just come up.
Yeah, getting a few supplies. Ably assisted by Lee, the only officer to have turned up for this. So, surprise, surprise there.
Everybody's got a chance to have a shot at the title, to have a fight with Ewo on the slippery pole with a bit of water. At the moment, that's probably my favourite one.
Ewo Russell Billings is the reigning champion on the slippery pole. But there's no fair fighting today.
Give me fair, lads, go through the tiger on the pool, go, quickly, go.
And Ewo's not the only one taking an early bath.
Sorry, Mr. Clark. Tiger on the deck, unlucky. Sorry, sir, no animals on the flight deck.
We should have to do this more often.
Just a little bit behind time, but hopefully we can pick that up. I have every faith in my chefs.
But then Barfoot would say that, considering who his chefs are.
Our chefs are, never let it be said that too many cooks spoil the broth. Certainly on the top echelons, we have Commander WE, the Commander, Commander Logistics, Harry, who's Lieutenant Commander 814. All the ingredients for a disaster. No, joking. Don't say that, because I'll get the blame. Right, fingers crossed. Sirs, quantity control. I know Sirs obviously well on it here, but it's one sausage. One sausage. One sausage, one burger, one piece of chicken. Okay, they can help themselves obviously to baked potatoes and salads and stuff.
When does the barbecue start?
1800. The booze is due to come up at about 1800, funny enough.
Oh, no, don't kiss me! Don't kiss me!
Brilliant today. It's a nice relaxing time for us. Yeah, nice unwind, yeah.
After a stressful couple of days, the barbecue's a welcome release. But although Lusty's crew can turn in after their tucker, for one person, the night's only just begun.
Join the Navy. See the world.
Next time on Warship, Illustrious is invaded.
Harry Boy's kind of arrogant and cocky.
An 814 squadron are on the defensive.
We're still the top Tigers.